Addie.
Hey, did you know there's a little pink pill?
Wait, a what? A little pink pill?
Did you say a little pink pill?
Yes, the little pink pill. You definitely need to know about this.
Are you for real? Just to be clear, you're telling me there's a little pink pill for me?
That's right, the little pink pill. And it's called Addyi, A-D-D-Y-I, or flibanserin. Learn more about the little pink pill at addyi.com. See full prescribing information and medication guide, including boxed warning regarding severe low blood pressure and fainting in certain settings at addyi.com/PI or call 844-PINK-PILL.
Good news, ladies. There's more. Addyi, the FDA-approved little pink pill, is also affordable and can be shipped directly to your front door. That's right. With insurance coverage, Addyi is only $20 per month and $0 after month 3. If your insurance doesn't cover Addyi, there is still a discount program to get you the best possible price and get free shipping right to your door. So now's the time to ask your doctor about Addyi. Learn more at addyi.com. That's addyi.com.
Dental One Associates of Northern Virginia redefine what it means to visit the dentist. Get top-quality, personalized support from committed experts that prioritize the well-being and satisfaction of you and your family. Care is centered on a highly personalized treatment plan backed by the trust and support of long-lasting relationships. Find out how you can make an appointment for a custom smile design experience by visiting doa-SiriusXM.com.
Welcome to Education in Focus. I'm your host, Aliana Kernodle. A federal judge has ordered the Biden administration to delay implementation of its sweeping changes to Title IX in another 4 states and at schools attended by students who belong to specific organizations or who have parents who do. Joining me to discuss this is Chalkboard News editor Brendan Clary. Brendan, several states have already seen preliminary success in their cases against the Title IX rule changes. What's the latest here?
Yeah, Eliana, this is like an update on sort of that continuing story of legal challenges to the Biden administration's rule. I mean, we covered that earlier this spring when they released the final rule and that regulatory process, right, where you basically have like a draft ruling and then you let people comment on it and then it takes forever. And it took a very long time because there was a massive amount of comments. And then they posted the final ruling. And then they got slapped with a whole bunch of legal challenges from different states with usually Republican-led states with attorney generals who are Republican-leaning. And so a lot of lawsuits and also from organizations, right, that are opposed to these things. So conservative-leaning organizations like Moms for Liberty. And there's another one for like women in sports. So there's a lot of different kinds of, opponents to these rules. And they basically said, these are unconstitutional, these are illegal. And in a number of states, I believe it was 10 states before this ruling, the federal judges had issued preliminary injunctions, which is basically we're going to stop the ruling right now while the court is deciding on sort of the legality of it. But that the plaintiffs in this case, and the plaintiffs would be the states and different people who say that they're going to be harmed by the rules. The plaintiffs in this case could succeed on the merits of their argument. So basically, it's not like a win definitively, but it's like we're signaling support. It's the court's way of saying like they have a good chance of making their case that this is unconstitutional, like that the rule is unconstitutional or would have like these different kinds of harms and would win on the merits, essentially. So this is the next round of that. There are 4 more states where the judge has said, the Biden administration cannot implement this rule, which was scheduled to come into effect August 1st. So that's a pretty short deadline from when I believe it went in effect in May. And schools only had a few months to try to implement this. States only had a few months to try to implement this rule, which really expands the definition of Title IX and basically adds gender identity into sex discrimination protections. It would add that you cannot discriminate against a student based on their gender identity. So it's like a big kind of change there that they kind of threw out at the last minute. And I've seen that cited in some of the lawsuits as that the federal government is kind of arguing that like time is of the essence, or that they haven't had enough time to review it. But then they've kind of the judges have actually used that sort of implementation deadline as a way to kind of say like, well, you didn't really give the plaintiffs here a lot of time to sort of figure things out. So it's just kind of interesting, like the way that these legal battles kind of take different aspects of the other side's argument and kind of turn them and, I don't know, have sort of like these unintended effects there. So this is kind of like the background is a lot of this Title IX and, these cultural debates about how do you protect transgender students in schools. And that's what the Biden administration is trying to do with this. But a lot of organizations and individuals and states have argued that is far overreaching what the original intent of the law is and should be struck down.
So then this case obviously has a lot of similarities to past cases, and it's in the same vein, but there are some significant differences. Can you get into that?
Yeah, of course. So like other cases, there's states, and this case, it was Kansas, Alaska, Utah, and Wyoming, where the judge said that the Biden administration could not implement the rule, but it also included organizations. So that's Moms for Liberty, Young America's Foundation, and Female Athletes United. So those are the three organizations which were part of this lawsuit against the rule, as well as those states, right? And so the federal judge said that any school where there was a member of the student organizations, Female Athletes United and Young America's Foundation, or if there are students there whose parents are in Moms for Liberty, that the Biden administration cannot implement the rule in those schools because they're the plaintiffs, right? So there's been a lawsuit from these organizations saying that this will hurt our members. And so then the judge says, they're likely to succeed on the merits. We're going to issue this preliminary injunction. You cannot implement this at these schools. And basically it's that starts getting into like this really dicey legal area. Like, how do you implement a rule if you're not sure if somebody's a member of this or not? And how do you count all of the members there? So it starts to get really, really kind of challenging to figure out, like, how do you put this into effect if there's so many like parents who are part of Moms for Liberty and then their kids go to the school, or like, how do you do it if there's like a Young America's Foundation chapter at a high school? So it kind of gets into that, and the judge really did get into that and say it's going to be very difficult for the Department of Education, the Department of Justice, like the federal defendants to implement this rule. And I quote here that it leaves it to defendants in the first instance to determine whether patchwork enforcement of the final rule is feasible and, quote, worth the risk of running afoul of the court's injunction, thereby exposing defendants and their representatives to sanctions for contempt. So essentially, like, does the Department of Education want to keep going forward with this? Because if they do and they get it wrong, then they're opening themselves up to violating the court order, right? Of saying we're going to keep going with this, even though the court said you can't do that because we're pending this litigation here. So it's I think we've had states before, and I think there was 10 states before this, I think I mentioned. So now we're over a dozen states, but there's all these organizations now, which means even if you're in, California, and California did not sue the federal government over this, I don't think, but there would be, if there was a Moms for Liberty group at a high school, then they can't implement the rule at that high school, right? So it's kind of this very broadly, focused shotgun approach of all over the country now. There's the Biden administration can't implement this rule. So I think that's a big development, and a lot of people maybe aren't seeing it that way. And Moms for Liberty kind of went out the gate there and was like, hey, this is a huge win for our membership because this is something that they've been talking about a lot.
Well, Brendan, thank you for your insights on this story. Listeners can keep up with future developments of this story at chalkboardnews.com.
It starts by texting your BFF. Next, finding that perfect outfit. And then pulling up to the valet at MGM National Harbor. Reservations are at 7 at Voltaggio Brothers Steakhouse. Yes, I'll have the burrata and Wagyu from Top Chefs. Pay the bill fast. You have tickets to see your favorite entertainer hit the stage in the most intimate setting at the theater. And then, why go home when you can cap it all off dancing the night away at Felt Bar and Lounge? You deserve a night out. Visit MGM National Harbor to have a monumental one.
Hey there, it's Orphe Diwangi, the co-host of the Everyday Economics podcast. Exciting news! Check out my new weekly column at thecentersquare.com. Join me as I break down complex economic trends in a way that's easy to understand for everyone. Check out the column every week and stay informed about the economic forces shaping our world. Be sure to subscribe to the Everyday Economics podcast and visit thecentersquare.com today.